Welcome, I'm Rogers Anderson, Williamson County's mayor, and today we're going to travel around Williamson County and look at some zoning issues and zoning matters and some new, you have to call them a little bit about procedures, I would call, and new regulations into our comprehensive plans that we developed. And we have with us today Kristi Ransom, one of our legal attorneys that we use here. Thanks for being with us today, Kristi.
Thank you, Mayor Anderson, for having me.
And Katie Rucker, one of the folks up in our community development department, works specifically into the planning area.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Before we actually get on with the show and talking about the things that has generated a lot of interest in our county, Kristi, kind of tell us a little bit about who Kristi is and where you come from. And of course, I seem to have known you since you were about 6 years old, which was, what, only a couple of days ago?
Yes, not long ago at all. Well, I'll be glad to. Thank you. I'm Kristi Ransom, as you said. I'm originally from Goodlettsville, Tennessee, and my parents are still in that area. So I've been in Tennessee my whole life. I've lived in Williamson County for 15 years. Was in Thompson Station for a while, and now my husband and I and our children live in Fieldstone Farms. I've been doing the planning and zoning law for Williamson County for 15 years now. Went to law school, actually went to Middle Tennessee State for undergrad, and then got my law degree at the University of Memphis. So I've been a Tennessee girl my whole life. But I enjoy this. The county and the community development staff are like my family as long as I've done this. So I'm blessed to be able to do what I like with people who I enjoy working with.
Well, and you wear many hats, and have for many years, not only in the planning area, but in our septic and the sewers and the stormwater, just so many different hats you wear, and it takes a special person to do that, and you do a good job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
Katie, you're kind of new to our staff.
I am.
Let the folks know where you originate from. And
absolutely. I actually came to Williamson County in April, so I'm still in my first year here. Grew up in a little town outside of Detroit in Michigan, and my dad was one of the Saturn folks coming down here, so I've been here for a little bit of high school and then moved back to Michigan, came back, got my degree at Tennessee State University, and I'm just excited to move forward with the plans we have in planning and Williamson County in general.
Well, the 6 months that you've been here and the items we're going to talk about, you've had a good introduction into Williamson
Definitely.
County. And Kristi, take us back, 20, 25 years ago. Bring us forward. Talk to us a little bit about zoning and our county and relationships to maybe the other 95 counties throughout the state of Tennessee.
Sure, I'll be glad to. Well, Williamson County is currently using a zoning ordinance that we've had in place since 1988. And we've had zoning in the unincorporated county that would be outside of all of the cities, and that's where our zoning applies. Since 1988, and actually before that, Williamson County is one of the few counties that actually has zoning and subdivision regulations and things like that. So we actually had zoning in a very innovative way back in the 60s and 70s. So the current zoning ordinance, as I said, was adopted in 1988, and it has served the county very well. And at the time, it was very progressive, looking at our natural resources, our slippage soils, and trying to keep buildings out of the floodplains and things like that. But after 20 some odd years, it was time to look at things again, because the county has grown so much and has become a little more urbanized than in 1988. So the County Commission created the Comprehensive Plan Update Steering Committee to study that, and that was several years ago. And in that process, just to back up a little bit, a comprehensive plan basically says what the county's vision of itself will be for 20, 30 years, and how it anticipates that the county residents would like to see the unincorporated county grow. So it's kind of the vision and the objectives of the county. It's not the law like the zoning ordinance is, but it's what we want the law to be. And so the Comprehensive Plan Update Steering Committee conducted about 13 public meetings all over the county. A lot of times we do things out in the Page community, the Hillsborough community, out Burwood, try and get out in the incorporated county to have the best opportunity for the residents to come out and give us their opinion, tell us what they think. So they conducted about 13 public hearings. They also had meetings with the County Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals, Planning Commission, and then they worked very hard with a group called the Plan Forum, and that was stakeholders from all over the county and the cities, because they really wanted the input of as many people as possible. So through that process, a vision for the county and the goals and objectives were created, and the updated comprehensive plan was adopted by the Planning Commission in 2007, and then the County Commission endorsed that same plan in September of 2007. So with that being the vision and the objectives and the goals, the next step would be to implement that, and those are implemented through the zoning ordinance and the subdivision regulations. So the next step in the process was the County Commission then created and utilized the same steering committee to update the zoning ordinance, and that's what has recently completed. So the county also hired a very well-known consultant to come in and help the steering committee as well as community development staff to develop a new zoning ordinance that brings us to the current needs of the unincorporated county.
And not only let you catch your breath, because you said a lot in just a few minutes, but a lot of people probably don't realize that Williamson County, over the last 10 years census growth, from 2000 to 2010, grew almost 45% population base-wide. The distinction has been put on us. We are the fastest growing county in the state of Tennessee. Now, when you drill down into those population numbers, you see that growth actually occurred in our cities, in our incorporated areas, not our unincorporated areas. Actually, the growth in the outside of those cities remained pretty steady over a 10-year window. Now, there was some annexation that would chew up some of that growth or have more of it in the county, but overall, it was pretty steady growth. And my point of saying that is that the work that you have put in and the other consultants that we have brought on, and certainly on the 4th floor of the administrative complex, our community service planning department, has served us well in coming up with a roadmap that we don't have all of this quest and desire to move out into our rural areas and have to provide those kind of services that are out there that aren't there. The water and the sewer is just not there in some of the unincorporated rural areas. And it shows that with good roadmaps and good planning and good zoning, that you can have a very fast growing county, but that growth occurs in areas within the city, and your rural areas are very, very protected. And that's been a kind of a philosophy since the 80s around this county. A lot of people may not like that, but personally I don't think it's always it's just not advantageous for us to take a 100 lot subdivision and stick it out in the middle of nowhere, and we have no services to speak of. So let that growth, it's kind of like the marketing side of businesses say, let the market drive what it is needed, and as those needs develop over a period of time, then the community will have a bigger say. And that kind of leads us into what the conversation we had at the last county commission meeting in October. Lots of discussion, lots of input. Staff had done a very, very good job of dealing with some issues that people brought before to their county commissioners and to staff and myself, and certainly you, Kristi, and you're kind of you didn't have your whistle and referee shirt on, but you kind of had to do a lot of the refereeing and a lot of the explaining. But at the end of the day, we had 3 county commissioners out that night because of various reasons. There was 21 people there. The vote was 19 to 1 or 2 that said, well, we can accept this. Now, did we make everybody happy? No. Will we ever make everybody 100% happy? The answer is always no on that. But I think the staff and the Planning Commission under the leadership of John Lackey have done a marvelous job in being able to take this input and almost, if we can use kind of the nasty word, regurgitate some kind of plan back out that offered some variations to what we had originally. Comments?
Well, I agree, and one thing about that came out of that comprehensive plan process and the zoning ordinance update process, which again, when it came time to update the zoning ordinance, we went back out in the community, had 11 community meetings, again, out in the unincorporated area. But a lot of the things that we always hear are, we want to protect our rural spaces. We want to keep our agricultural community vibrant, even though we are becoming more urbanized, while at the same time recognizing that some folks would like to be able to develop their property, and that there are some small little pockets of commercial that serve the rural communities. And so the planning department and the consultant worked very hard to balance those interests. And like you said, you can't make everyone happy, but the main thing is to be responsive, to hear what people say, to find out their opinions. And we do want growth to be driven by infrastructure that's there, not to leapfrog, not to encourage sprawl. And so the way the zoning ordinance is drafted, anytime a development, whether it's building houses or building a small commercial use, the planning staff and the zoning ordinance requires that we look at, are the roads there? Is the sewer available? Is there adequate water? Is there adequate space? And so again, it's a balance in keeping the agricultural community vibrant and allowing them to continue to grow and operate, but at the same time allowing folks to exercise their property rights if they want to do something with their land.
It kind of leads us into the discussion why Katie's sitting at this table today.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think it's important for everyone that's watching this show or has access to this show at some point. Anything that we have done can always be tweaked. Things can be adjusted. They can be taken and re-looked at. There's a process to go through that. Mm-hmm. I don't think that kind of power should ever be to just one person. Say me, for example. I'll use me as the guinea pig here. Just because I don't like it doesn't give me the chance just to sign off and say change it again. There's a process we have to go through to make changes or to improve or really and truly just for the dialogue. Oftentimes our county commissioners will say, well, I think maybe we ought to look at this again. So that develops, the staff takes some of those ideas, looks at some of that. Of course, from the legal eyes, you're looking at it. What are the processes? What can we do? What can't we do? And that's part of this process that we go through, and I think we're very transparent in the way that we lay this out to our citizens with open dialogue, certainly lots of emails, and at the end of the day, we have a very good finished product. Before I turn it over to you to kind of talk about what Katie's going to do, something's working to have this quality of life here in Williamson County. Because there are people, if we're number one in growth and population, there's lots of reasons people say, but I've always said that our public education is why people move here. But when they move here, they want to have a quality of life, your parks, your open spaces, your walking trails, just the aesthetic side of being able to drive out into the country this time of the year and see the beautiful fall leaves and just have this sense that this is home, this is where I'm going to raise my family, this is where I'm going to live, try to find a job to work, or if not, maybe not work in Williamson County, maybe in Franklin, Bremerwood, but it's going to be real close by because I want to raise my family here. Kristi?
Well, that's right, and part of the zoning process is to make sure that quality of life is continues to be as wonderful as it has been in Williamson County. Part of the zoning ordinance update, the comprehensive plan recommended that we create certain pockets of area called villages, and we have 4 of them that have been designated, and the process of a village is to go out into that specific community, it's a specific area, a zoning district, and have meetings just for those folks who live there or around that area to talk about what they want. And so that's been done in the College Grove community. We are wrapping up the Leapers Fork Village, and that's part of what Katie's going to address. About to embark on Grassland, and then the last one is the Triune community. But it specifically gets out in those communities, talks to those residents, and then a zoning ordinance standards are created. And so I wanted Katie specifically to address where we are with Leapers Fork, where we're going with Grassland, because this is kind of her baby. This is her specialty area.
Katie, you've got the spotlight on you now.
Absolutely. So Kristi brought up a lot of really good points. It is a very community-driven process. We go out, and the first step in the entire process is to create a Citizens Advisory Committee. And that committee is 7 to 9 members who represent a cross-section of the community as a whole, and they help us to steer the entire process. They act as a sounding board between the staff and the public. They actually help us ensure the vision, the goals, the objectives, and they make recommendations as they see fit based on community input. So for every time we meet with them, we also have a public meeting. And again, going back to that community-driven process, for Leapers Fork, we had 5 public meetings where we reviewed things that had been tweaked, changed. Just like you were saying, everything is dynamic. Anything can be changed at any time. And of course, we want to reflect the vision of the community. For Leapers Fork, for example, we were talking about the rural character and maintaining that. The #1 goal listed in that plan is to preserve the charm and rural character of Leapers Fork. And I think that was really important, and we worked hard to maintain that as we move forward. From there, we actually created the special area plan, and in doing that, that leads to creating the zoning development standards, which Kristi was talking about. So the special area plan process that the villages go through actually is an opportunity for the community to write their own zoning standards. Of course, staff comes in with expertise that the community may not have regarding sewer availability or traffic infrastructure availability. However, the overreaching goal is going to be to create a community that people want to live in. That quality of life is that #1 driver. So for Leapers Fork specifically, we've actually adopted the plan, and at the October Planning Commission meeting, we endorsed the development standards, those zoning standards. So those will go before the County Commission in November for adoption, and will be adopted into the zoning ordinance for 2013 come January 1st.
I think it's important as we have this conversation, there's a lot of dates thrown out here, and it is an evolving
Absolutely.
Plan now. Come January 1st, 2013, a lot of this goes into place.
Absolutely.
The Leapers Fork is a very unique, very changing, I'll use your word, dynamic community that's really evolved over the last several years. For many, many years, almost since the beginning of this community, we referred to it way out there in the 1st District. A lot of people thought that was in just Fairview, but it was a way to get to Fairview. Before New Highway 96 came online, the only way to get to Fairview was up through the, back then called Hillsboro, now more affectionately referred to as Leapers Fork. Leapers Fork is probably half a mile, 500 yards long, business district, 2 or 3 good restaurants you can attend, lots of shops, lots of tourism now out in that area. But the people that live there 24/7, 365 want it to remain in the format that it is today. Does everyone agree with that? No. But the majority of the people will come to these public meetings, and we encourage you. Those dates will become available at any time there's public meetings in a particular area. Please make an effort to attend. If you can't attend, send your comments in, because we do advertise, and we do put those little stakes in the ground, say public meeting, public hearing, those types of things. What's after Leapers Fork area?
Well, actually, you gave me a great segue to talk about staying connected, because we actually just started the Grassland Plan. Grassland Village, in the October Planning Commission meeting, we endorsed the Citizens Advisory Committee. So that group will be meeting later this month in October. And as we move through that process, there will be public meetings coming up, and there's some really great opportunities to stay connected. One, of course, is the county website. That will be updated regularly. On the planning page, there's actually a section for special area plans. the Grassland Plan specifically actually has a Facebook page as well. So if you can't make it to the community meetings, if you can't come out or call or email, you can actually log in, like that page, and write your comments about things you're concerned about or feedback you have about projects we're talking about. That's actually at www.facebook.com/grasslandplan. So I encourage everybody to like that and pay attention as the plan moves forward through the process. And of course, notices will be placed throughout the community. And I'm available, and all of planning staff is available to answer questions at any time.
You might look into that camera and tell us your phone number, because they'll want to call you a little bit.
Absolutely. The phone number for the planning department is 615-790-5725.
Kristi, we finish up with the Grassland. You mentioned we're going out into the Arrington Triune area, out into there. How much, kind of changing a little bit here, share some information with our viewing audience about, and we did talk about this before we went on air, but the urban growth boundaries. I think it's so important. Oftentimes we will have someone come in and request something that is in the urban growth boundaries. It may be expansion of just water products. It may, we've actually got one of those going on right now. But we've kind of taken an attitude over here that if it's on those urban growth boundaries, eventually soon to be in the cities, maybe the cities need to look at that.
Well, exactly right. And as you mentioned, the new zoning ordinance will become effective in January 1st of 2013. And one of the things that we had to address in the zoning ordinance update was the growth plan areas. And several years ago, state law required all counties to adopt a growth plan. And what that does is it establishes where all of the incorporated cities intend to grow by annexation for the next 20 some odd years, and then also for the county to identify areas of growth. And so when the zoning ordinance was updated, state law required that we make our zoning ordinance and our zoning map consistent with that growth plan. And so by doing so, we created zoning districts that match the cities, what they're called urban growth boundaries. You hear people call them UGBs and growth boundaries and all different kinds of things. But basically it's an area that's a ring around each city where the cities intend to grow by annexation sometime in the next 20 years. So by doing so, by putting that in our zoning ordinance, we're respecting those areas that the cities intend to grow, where they intend to provide their services. And though there's still the opportunity for development in those areas while it's in an incorporated county, to receive more urban services and a different type of growth, it is encouraged that those property owners seek the annexation or the assistance from the city before doing development. They would probably get more density or more opportunity for different types of uses because of the services and infrastructure that the city can provide that the county doesn't traditionally provide, like sewer service and that type of thing.
You know, if you look into a crystal ball, and none of us can predict or forecast what's going to be out there in the next 25 years, but we use some of the best numbers and consultants and other groups. This isn't just about Williamson County. This is about Middle Tennessee and one of the fastest growing counties in the state. But lots and lots of folks are telling us that in about 25 years, the 2035, which is just a shy of 25 years, Katie, you won't even be my age in that period of time, but they're saying that the Williamson County population, the entire population of our county, will almost double again.
Wow.
We were in, I serve on the MPO boards and the RTA boards. All of these are just regional boards for Middle Tennessee to help transportation issues and planning issues and just many regional areas. When people and businesses move to Williamson County or to Davis County, they don't know that Old Hickory Boulevard separates the two counties. It's important for us,
right,
but the general public, when they're moving here, or businesses, that's not a big issue with them. But if our population doubles, and we've got about 4 minutes to talk about this, you know, you think, how are we going to preserve what's so special for you and myself and our grandchildren and our children, that if you look at the actions we're doing today, They're so critical because you may tweak this new plan that's going into effect, but it'll be another 10 or 15 years before we go in and do wholesale changes like we've done. It's been since 1988,
Exactly.
and now it's 2013. It takes a long time, lots of involvement. We do have to get it right. We do have to do planning, but we still can make adjustments. Kristi?
Well, that's exactly right. We do the very best we can to forecast, and at the same time, that's why we get excuse me, the community input on how they would like to see things preserved and how they would like to see things grow. But as things change, the county commissioners, speaking for all of the residents of the unincorporated and incorporated county, have the opportunity to change the zoning ordinance if they see a need for it. If there's a particular industry that comes in, or there's an area that has infrastructure that didn't have it at the time. The county commission has the authority to amend the zoning ordinance, to adjust the zoning map, districts, if it makes sense at the time. You can't just change it for no reason. That's my job, to look at what the standards are. But the county commission knows, and the planning commission sees where the growth is going to occur, and they see what the residents need and how the infrastructure is changing. And so there can be adjustments, small or large, in the zoning ordinance, and planning staff and their expertise is always available to consult with the county commissioners and help recommend how those issues might best be addressed.
Katie, before we go off the air here in a couple of minutes, it's very important for you to have the eyes and the ears of the citizens. You've encouraged them to call you or use one of the social networks we got, or even the old-fashioned way of, you can still go online.
Absolutely.
And you bring a new set of fresh eyes to our department. You're younger. You've got a vision that may be a little bit different than I or some of the others. But I know in talking to you and visiting with staff upstairs, it's not just taking all of the changes that come in and something that you just read out of a textbook or you saw in wherever, another city, but it's really what our people want. It's what our community wants.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. One of the things that I'm so impressed with Williamson County is the unique community-driven process in everything that we do. I really appreciate how important we view the community's desires and goals for their future, and I think it's what makes Williamson County such a wonderful place to live.
Got about 45 seconds left. Kind of think in your mind, wrap it up for us. What have we overlooked? What have we failed to tell the folks, Kristi?
I think just the only thing is the zoning ordinance is designed, the new one is designed to be a lot more user-friendly, a lot more understandable to the citizens.
Yes.
But anytime there's a question, planning staff or I'm available to answer any questions. And the other thing is, one of the big things is, if you own property out there, just because there's a new zoning ordinance doesn't mean you have to stop. Your business could be, is probably legally non-conforming, and if there's any questions about that, then call and ask, but it doesn't mean that what you have is taken away.
Katie, thanks for being with us.
Thank
Kristi,
you.
thanks for all your hard work
Thank
for
you.
so many years. I'm Roger Sanderson, Williamson County's mayor. We'll see you as we travel around the county the next time. Have a good day.